Hey, we're live.
Oh, we didn't get the little fucking Care Bear countdown here this time?
I didn't do it. I apologize. We're just going into it. Welcome, Josh. Welcome, George. Welcome to the most unlistened podcast on the planet. So a couple things we wanted to cover tonight. First, did you see the active shooter in Sweden? No. Okay. So as of right now, about 10 killed at an adult education center in Sweden's worst mass shooting. They don't say, at least of writing this article, it was a 10 people killed, including the gunman, Tuesday. Prime Minister, I'm not even going to Ulf Christensen gave a news conference after the tragedy. School called Campus Roberska. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these names. Sorry, my Swedish contingents. Primary upper secondary school courses are offered. So that's like, I'm guessing junior and high school. As well as Swedish class. I think it was I think they're like 20. I think they're in their 20s, so it's college.
Are you saying intellectual disabilities? Go back up.
Wait, what's that? The campus primarily for immigrants vocational training program with people with intellectual disabilities, like something that we would all be on. Yes. Today, again, I'm trying to get past these quotes and just get to the facts. Of course, gun violence is very rare in Sweden, but when you compare it to the overall population of Sweden, let me just say, it's 10.4 million. It's 10.5 million people. It's roughly the size of New York, of Manhattan. So when they compare, you got to compare population sizes if you're really going to compare apples to apples. So you got to look at, what mass shootings happened in New York City, right? Or what mass shootings happened in New Jersey. Comparatively, Sweden's doing worse than New Jersey and New York. So, there's that. Call the shooting an event that shakes our time. Yeah, of course, we know. I mean, again, like people, I get that they have to say these things, but, when they do happen, they're not getting, we want to know motivation. We want to know how the guy gained access. We want to know timeline of events. I don't need to know. I understand like thoughts and prayers, and it's awful and it's tragic and that should be said, but that's just really an article of everybody just repeating the same shit.
Well, I think we're unique in that we want to know entry. We want to know time. We want to know the details. I think most people don't care. I think most people are just like, oh my gosh, it's so sad. And that's as far as they get. Yeah,
you may be right. I think you're right. But again, that doesn't do anybody any good.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Right. So, which is the vast majority of people. All they do is complain that there's a problem, but they don't do anything about the problem. So, and it's constant, it's like with everything that has to do with violence. Because they rather not think about it. Vast majority of people rather not think about it. They rather think, self-defense. Well, if I defend myself, then what if I get arrested? I go, what if you just roll over and die? Right? What's your other option? Give them what they want, and then they'll take whatever they can from you? Okay, that's your call, not my call. So, you're still seeing this, just getting into this, least of all, school again, talking about, someone's drowning and they're describing the water, it's ridiculous. This quote. Okay. I think, George, I'm still hearing myself, brother. Okay. Such violence and terror have no place in our societies, least of all in schools. Yeah. Right. But it's there. The heck was it? What just happened there?
I'm turning my volume down too, just in case it was me.
All right. So, police said the death toll could rise, obviously, because the people succumb to injuries. Okay, of course we want to understand why this happened, what occurred, what motivators the perpetrator might have had. We have to wait for those answers in due time. Police raided the suspect's home after Tuesday's shooting, but it wasn't immediately clear what they found. Farr said that there was no warning signs before the attack. Highly unlikely, by the way, people. Swedish King Carl, what was that, 16th?
16, yep.
Yeah, Gustav. They got a king still. That's cool. I don't know why. It just struck me as odd. I mean, England is a king, so what are you gonna, right? I don't know. It's just countries with the king are funny, right? That they're still doing that. So anyway, I don't know. I'm a child. They again, I don't more sadness and dismay. Yeah, so that's it. So the reality is, we're looking at this problem, as, active shooters and as a solely American problem, when in reality, when you look at a lot of these countries as per capita, and, you're going to see that, the numbers percentage wise aren't that far off.
Well, you know who they never report on? They never report on the Middle East. They never report on Africa.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean,
right.
Right.
Where there's, where the level of violence is, in day-to-day life is astounding.
Shocking. Yeah.
Astounding. They were also talking about, I don't know if we were talking about the last time, the dude from Black Rifle Coffee was on Rogan, and he was talking about how prevalent it is for, middle-aged, grown men to have these like boys around them. They like dress him up, and they, he's like, he was when he was serving over there, he's like,
oh yeah, he's talking about the Middle East. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, wow, it's cool that guy brings his son to work with him as a truck driver. Yeah, that's not his kid. I mean, there is, that constant. I mean, there is
kind of a funny story about that.
Okay, go.
So one of my buddies, this is they had just got back from deployment when I showed up to the unit, and one of the kids, one of the guys, he was like kind of young looking, and they sold him to the Afghanis.
What? Wait, what?
So like they came, like all the Afghanis came and they're like, hey, we really like that guy, that kid, can we get him,
So one of the kids in the unit they sold.
And so the unit got together and sold him. And so they were like, no, we need payment first. We need payment first. And so they got like all this stuff from the Afghanis, and then they're like, yeah, go get him. And then they started grabbing him, like taking him, and he was like, what the heck? Because he didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And so they basically had to fight these Afghanis off, and they were like all mad that they didn't get to take the person that they paid for.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so anyways, that stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, and it's out there. Like they have these parties, and they have these little like. They were just showing video, and I go, it's just freaking, it's bizarre and insane. But it's like, when you're looking at, the level, and then we want to go in there and, impose our thoughts and beliefs on like societies. And that's where people, we're very, everybody projects their own value. We talk about this all the time. Everybody projects their own values and their own,
bias
and bias on everybody, on their attacker, and everybody out there is like, well, why wouldn't they want these things? Why would they? They grew up in a completely different freaking world, and you have no, basis of what's going on other than, they want to survive. Right. I mean, and that's where, we get off the rails when we go in and try to impose our culture on other groups. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we've got, did you guys see, it's almost like it's like now these things are again like they're just commonplace. I'm looking at it's another. I know we focus on schools, but there's another active shooter in Ohio. Most of the active shooter events happen at the workplace. I mean, the schools get the headlines because it involves children and it's insanely tragic, more tragic because of innocent children being slaughtered. But most of it is going to happen when you're at work. Whether doesn't matter, working at a Walmart, YouTube, there was an active shooter there a couple of years ago. Here's an Ohio warehouse. And when I talk to, people, especially, with the armor side of the business, they're always very much like, oh, schools, schools need this need this. I go, dude, you realize, you're going, you're passing through a crowd. I go, you're working in a building with, you're in an office building where there people congregate. I'm like, it's going to happen.
It's like the young people don't remember this, but I know we all remember, the saying "going postal." That came from somewhere.
Yep.
It came from my hometown, Ridgewood, New Jersey, and a guy that I know, his father was the first guy killed.
Oof.
It turns out, by the way, just as a side note, a tragedy, his brother wound up getting electrocuted, was like a lineman, and yeah, insane. So, but yeah, that happened in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and he was the first guy shot, and then it happened other places after, other post offices after that, and that's kind of where it went, and it kept coming. I mean, they, it's, and if you think about it, that's where this, I think it, even that's well before Columbine. That was in the late 80s. So I was in college. So, Columbine was like, 6 or 7 years later. So, you're getting this, where people started to, kind of slowly over the years, and then now it's just accelerated. And now it's just, I mean, they just had another thing where, I mean, how many of them get stopped? Right. You don't even, it's hard even to tell because, it's like a lot of times they do, I say most times, there's planning involved, there's fantasy, there's, you can tell if you're paying attention. That's why when they say like, oh, this guy, the kid didn't, in Sweden didn't have anything, they went to his house, didn't find any. I'm like, did they go on his phone? Did they go on his computer? How deep are they diving? Because there's going to be media, there's going to be planning. You've got to acquire the weapon. You've got to get some resources together to do this stuff. And speaking of which, did you see the 4 bandads that took down an active shooter?
No.
So these 4 guys, so the active shooter was like 80 something years old, like 85. So before it was at a band event. I think it was more of a dementia thing where the perpetrator was thought someone was after him and his wife. So he went and showed up at this band event at this high school, and there were 4 dads. Here they are, all of which I mean, they say they're tactically trained. One's a cop, one's a Marine. 2 guys were in the retired military. So yeah, they served their country and they took an oath. So these guys took down this guy who, I mean, I'm guessing a stiff fart could probably take that guy down. But still, excuse me, guy with a gun, still dangerous. He believes he's under assault, under attack. Yeah, that's, you still got to deal with it. Just got to squeeze the trigger. So that, but at least you've got guys who stepped up and did something. Like we said, the police response times in some places, I mean, average response time for the US is something like 11 minutes. I mean, that's just like best case scenario. You should, where you live, you should look up your local response times. If you're in a city, forget it. You're on your own. If you're in a rural area, you're on your own. Your best response times are in suburbs. But if there's one call, if there's one legit call, everybody's going to that call. So if there's two calls, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. We always say, like, you know, you want to, you want to take over a small town or a decent sized town. I go light a fire at one end of town and then do whatever you got to do at the other end of town, because nobody's going to be around. Everybody and their mother's going to be going. So there's that. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about tonight is guns rights and really weapons rights as it affects, women. So Mike just posts, he lives in a deep rural area. Yeah, 45 minutes is average here. Right. So if you dude, you're having even if you're having a heart attack, you're you're on your own. So yeah. So when we're looking at, and I'm shocked that, because politically, I guess it just doesn't align with women's rights for personal protection and self-defense versus guns rights and weapons rights. Like when I see stuff where knives, not even like besides firearms, knives, pepper spray, tasers, whatever. I mean, the vast majority of interpersonal crime is committed on women. Women get assaulted, women get raped, women get attacked. Why? Because they're smaller and weaker. And usually they're attacked by men. So, to sit there and think we teach a lot of women self-defense. I mean, empty hand, we teach self-defense, but empty hand is like the last thing we want to get involved with. So to sit there and, think that, okay, you're going to, again, self-defense your way out of this, that's a last resort. I mean, we've all, I've had, women who've been very, very good, talented martial artists, get just manhandled literally by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people talk about again, grappling and BJJ. I'm like, you are out of your mind. I mean, I've only seen a handful of women hold their own with much lower ranking, less talented men around the same weight in a sparring type of situation. And again, I can't gauge. And I believe that the men probably were not trying their hardest.
Yeah, they weren't like neither person was actually trying to injure the other person, right? Which obviously
Correct.
changes things.
Correct. I mean, there was one, hold on, wait, I want to find this video. Hold on. So female boxer. Like that. Video. So I was just freaking looking at this. Here we go. So yeah. Sorry, 1 second. Stop. So I was watching this before. Just waiting for this. So this female boxer, she's
Is
pro
this
female
women's boxing Olympics?
No. This is I'll just show you a second. So I'm just waiting for the ads to kind of stop running. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's get. All right, so this female boxer. All right, she's like 14-0, good female boxer. Starts calling out all of these pros, like guys with like legit you know, 40 something, you know, one guy's like 29-0, one guy's like 30-0. You know, I mean, just like legit guys. So now she's like, I spar with men all the time, and I knock down guys, I do this, I do that. I'm like, yeah. And you're listening to like talk all this trash. So now the story is there's this Russian amateur boxer who's sparring with her sparring partner. She's talking shit to him, right? So he's with her like a couple rounds. And then finally he's like, he just kind of had enough. And like, let me just mute this. This is what happened. Bang.
Oh,
yeah. So now she comes back. I mean, they both kind of went for the same combo, right? I mean, he just hit with a hook. So she comes back and she's posting on Twitter or whatever that, they took the padding out of his gloves and all this other shit. And it's just like, look, again, like it's going to be very, very, it's the exception, not the rule, that a woman could physically defend herself against a man. I mean, look, and that's just the way it is. I mean, in general, let's live in reality.
Does it happen? Absolutely. But
yes,
it's the exception. You're right.
But we know that if you're armed, you've got a real chance. Like if you're grappling around, if you're grappling and you've got, let's say you pull out your punch dagger, and now you start stabbing somebody. I mean, his blood pressure will eventually drop, right? He probably is not going to feel it, depending on, especially if he's under the influence. Right. So it's probably not going to feel it, but you start getting it and his blood pressure starts to drop. Now, at least you got a chance. Now he passes out. Right. I'm like, places where it's like, how do you expect if a woman can't carry pepper spray, if a woman can't carry a firearm, she can't carry an edged weapon, she can't carry how do you expect, what are you thinking what's going to happen when she's assaulted?
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, George, you got some stories about,
well, I mean, that's talking about not carrying, right? That's us up here. Pepper spray is illegal up here. Obviously firearms, nobody's walking around with those. It's not illegal to carry knives. However, you have a real rough time justifying it should you be questioned or fucking pulled over and they find it, right? Or if you use it. So we're very, very limited to what we can do, which is why, we have such issues with, assault against women.
Yeah. Yeah. Say, Mike, Mike, comments, she's going to wrap her hands in tape every time she leaves the house. Yeah. I mean, that's a side note. And that's always really get a kick out of like Krav Maga. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but every time I saw them, they were wearing hand wraps and punching. And I'm like, what are we doing? Right. So just as an aside, but yes, to your point, what are they saying to women? This is, you can't use any of these tools. You can't use any of this technology. And yet we're going to say the law is going to protect you. And guys, again, we're just talking about response times, even like to create enough space to call 911 once you're, it's impossible. I mean, you looking at it like, you got to be, one, you're going to be approached, you're going to be isolated, then they're going to get in your space, they're going to pose their will on you. All these little things start happening that you get in deeper and deeper.
We did this drill with people over the years with a cell phone and being encroached upon, and you knew what was coming. It was in a controlled environment, and you still weren't getting fucking the ability to dial 911 and say anything at all.
Right. How many people are even aware of where they are?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was driving to my house today, and there was this lady walking with her like 4-year-old kid, head literally straight down, buried in her phone.
Right.
And I was just like you can't even like lift it up a little bit so you can at least be somewhat aware. Like your kid's right there next to you.
Right. And now you talk about, I mean, the first thing you need to do is manage your personal space. you're literally surrendering it. You know, what does it take for somebody to just get up on you? You know, I mean, especially, you know, homeless, you know, just all of a sudden these guys come out of nowhere. Like they're literally camouflaged into the background because they're not acting like normal people. They're lying down, they're sitting down, they're crouched on a curb or against the wall. So you're not really kind of picking them up in your radar when you're walking. You know, and then, you know, all of a sudden they just decide, okay, there's one, and they just get into your shit. Now you've made so many mistakes.
Yep.
And especially if you have a child, now that child can be leveraged and used against you. You know, and that's what we're always, you know, when I first, you know, tell everybody the first time they're going on a date, you know, just like, look, something happens, I need you to run away and escape. I go, you're not doing me any help here. Just go call 911. I go, that's going to, you know, that'll get the clock ticking. That'll get, you know, the assailant, you know, thinking about, okay, cavalry's coming.
Yep.
So what do we got to do? You know, I got to do, you know, so, you know, when, you know, that's it. Mike says the one that seemed the most harmless or the most dangerous. I'm like, usually, yeah, because they want to get into your personal space. So they'll be disarming. They'll use, which would artifice, as Fairburn used to say. They'll use trickery, you know, to get you to, you know, drop your guard. They're going to appear to be in need, you know. So, you know, when you're doing this stuff, and we had a case here where a woman was, you know, trying to, you know, she had a restraining order against her ex-boyfriend, and she wanted to get a firearm, so she applied, and then she went to go buy it, and she got to wait 7 days, which is an insane, stupid. I mean, you know, it's like, I'm buying my gun, I'm getting my gun. Why? Because I want to go. It was the Brady bill, which was Brady who got shot when Reagan got shot. And it was Hinckley had bought that gun that day and then went out and shot the president and Brady, right? So the Brady bill was the one that, you got to make them wait because I can't plan a week in advance to get a gun.
Well, I mean, their thought on that is a crime of passion, right? So,
right.
7 days, you've calmed down, maybe the situation's changed, etc. You're no longer going to just going to go shoot somebody. That's right. The thought process on it, which, I mean, you know, okay, I can understand it, you know.
Yeah.
But here we have somebody who has a need, right? We're talking about somebody who's already expressed a need, somebody who went and got approved. Like, don't make them wait 7 days. The person you make wait 7 days is the guy who shows up with cash, who has like an out-of-town driver's license.
Right.
And it's like, hey, I want to buy a gun.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
right.
Okay. Let's ask some more questions here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you know, there'll be people that'll argue that, well, if he should be able to buy a gun, right? And you're like, I get that too, but yeah, it's
really tricky. What it is there needs to be more due diligence at the point of sale, right? The person there needs to use their own personal questioning tools and gauges of interest and be like, hey, should I sell this person a firearm? Maybe I should ask more questions.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, dude. But the problem is too many people are fucking tools. They don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 100%, you're asking a guy, your average clerk, to be like, you know,
absolutely 100%. You know, and so then you have the problem. So then you're right. So now what, right? How do we make it better? And that's always the situation is like, how do we make it better? Like, I'm the guy who's like, if you could buy a tank, if you could buy a fighter jet, buy one. You should be able to arm that thing and use it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And people are like, that's insane. And I'm like, do you know how expensive that ammunition is? Like,
yeah,
someone's gonna buy a tank, they're gonna get like 6 rounds, and they might shoot it like once every 5 years just for fun.
Right. Right.
Because you're talking like, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars for this ammo. You know what I mean?
Mike brings up a great point. He goes, the weight is ridiculous. If you really want a gun, you can go get one.
Right.
You know, you could, you can. I mean, you just got to, like, if you just put yourself in the right neighborhood, you'll figure something else out.
You fucking print one nowadays.
Well, true. True. I
I
said
mean,
the
yeah,
bad guys
it's
always
not
will
hard
get
to get
one.
blueprints for a pipe gun. That's pretty easy.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, they, if you look, if I per se were to want to go get a gun, there's certain neighborhoods I know I could go to. Preferably there's a White Castle there. After a certain amount of time, you'll be able to, find the you find the right. But you get a firearm or a puppy, all White Castle
Probably both. Yeah.
after 1 a.m. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, like if you just minimally applied yourself, I wouldn't try to do it on Craigslist. Here I am giving advice because 99.9% of the people there are cops. That's so funny. I always laugh at the people who like go hire a hitman. I'm like, it's a cop. I'm like, you're not. I'm like, there's a rare. I go, you need getting someone to do that. That's definitely like a word of mouth thing.
Yeah, fucking dude advertising on fucking Craigslist. Yeah.
The guys who are in that life only deal with people in that life,
or the dark webs, and you know how to get there. Like,
yeah, but even then,
sites,
I'm like,
right?
you'll still. It's very. I mean, you gotta like know a guy who knows a guy who's living a certain lifestyle that will.
And that's almost what it is, right? You're like,
Yeah.
very rarely it's like, hey, I like found some random contract for it. It's somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, again, it's a cop. So whoever you're talking to, it's a cop. Every time they try to hire somebody to kill somebody, it's a fucking cop. Just don't do it, or do it and get caught because you're an idiot and you want to kill somebody. So there's that.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. But, I like, going back to it. So this woman had to wait for the firearm. She wound up getting killed in her driveway from this guy. And there's a thing with restraining orders. Like you can have them, but the cops aren't like, there's a Castle Rock versus Gonzalez is the case where she, her ex-husband took her kids to like an amusement park and she was calling the cops to kind of go and arrest him. And he was in the next town over. Long story short, the dad wound up killing the kids and himself. And it turned out that the police weren't responsible, because they're not, they're just there to, if he violates the restraining order, they're there to enforce it. But if he's not at your house or not, you know what I mean? There's like,
okay, and then we go back to response times, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, so-and-so is, within the restraining order distance. And they're like, okay, what's happening? Like, we'll be there in 20 minutes or something,
Right. Right.
In 20 minutes, you're already dead.
Exactly. So, and that's where, these laws that, and like you said, I understand the spirit of them. They don't want, a crime of passion, right? They don't want, the wrong person to get their hands on these things. But you realize that, if you want a weapon, you can make it out of pretty much any tool in a Home Depot. So
yeah, it only hurts law-abiding people.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah,
all of it. I mean, as a woman, you should be able to carry whatever the hell you want, wherever the hell you want. I mean, God damn, it's like, why wouldn't you want to do that? I mean, you're stripping them of a way of like whatever they're going to be, the only chance that they're going to have at any success.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, yes, firearms for sure. But a lot of people don't want to do firearms. They're intimidating, et cetera, whatever. But they have the restrictions where, you can't even have pepper spray. Like, that's ridiculous. How do you not have pepper spray? Like, I forget who it was I was talking to. This is like a couple of years ago when I was first getting into training stuff. And we got on the subject of pepper spray. And I was like, well, just go get some pepper spray. And they were like, I can't, it's illegal here. And I was like, it's legal in all 50 states. I was like, nah. And I had to look it up. And I was like, holy crap, what the heck?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it really just doesn't make it. It really doesn't make any sense.
No.
So you could have issues going from state to state if you're carrying pepper spray then.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, tasers, stun guns. I mean, they all knives, right? You know, you're allowed a certain length of knife in one area, but not in another. Like, it's crazy.
And like for years, I thought an edged weapon had to be a minimum of length, but there's no law against in New Jersey against the length of it. It's how you manifest it. So what does that mean? Like I can carry it as a utility knife, right? But I can't like have it stuck in my pocket. I can use a knife to defend myself, but I can't carry a weapon for self-defense. Like the weapon, like I can pick up the weapon in the midst of this thing. Like Mike writes, 99-cent screwdriver will give somebody a bad day. Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of like T-handle, Allen wrenches.
Yep.
I mean, they're freaking great. And anything that you could just pack in your fist and it sticks out. I'm like, it's great. And you want to like disguise your weapons, just put them in a tool belt, leave them in your car. Like, there you go. It's so stupid because it's like anything can be used as a weapon as long as it can, as long as it, can increase your, as long as it's a force multiplier, that's it. So, the laws that we have are just nuts. And, they're so arbitrary too, because you're like, okay, if that's an ice pick, it's an ice pick. But if it's a shiv, you can't carry that. But it's an ice pick.
Yeah.
You can't have a garrote, but I can have this really cool circular saw, the chainsaw. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. No problem. It's like, so what is it? There's ways around it, and we teach people how to get around it because it's easy. You could create a blackjack out of a, fishing weight and a bandana, right? I'm like, you don't need to actually have a blackjack, but you can, if you can't have pepper spray, use like there's a bug spray or any irritant that'll get somebody to pause that you want to carry in your hand.
We'll go old school with the old fucking sock and a rock.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing. What's wrong with that? Right.
Yep.
It's a sock and a rock. This is how I dry my sock. It's how I store my sock in my hand.
Soap on a rope.
Right. Yeah. So, you get these, it's preposterous. And I want to kind of, I don't even know where to start this movement, but it's like, the women's rights people have got to get on the same side as the gun rights people. And the right to bear arms applies to everything, not just firearms. It applies to body armor. It applies to edge weapons. It applies to impact weapons. It applies, dude, I don't care if you're walking down the street with a katana. I don't care. He's got a katana. Okay. As long as you're not, attacking me with it, unless I deserve it, then, it's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I get that it makes people, it is strange to see guys in open carry states with like an AR, draped on their shoulder. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see stuff like that, I'm usually just like, really, guy?
I know. That's like, if
like,
that's how you,
all right, whatever, more power to you.
You can do it. Yeah, it's just too much of a hassle. It's just, it's just too much of a hassle to fucking, just a handgun's fine, man. I'm cool. I can conceal it. I'm like, that's it. I really just don't want people to know my business. And they know I'm prepared. So you want to go on neighborhood watch and patrol? I'm like, go right ahead. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, WD-40 is awesome. Yeah, dude, it's good. The aerosol bit, that's it. I mean, it'll get somebody offline. Just spraying that into their face just for a split second.
Yep.
No problem. And it's completely legal. It sticks to them. It's a great call, Mike. It'll stick to them. It's tough to get out.
45% deep woods off.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've never had that sprayed in your eyes, I'm telling you.
Right. With the DDT, baby. Hell yeah. Yeah. Listen, you got to be downwinder just spraying some kids.
my twin brother one time was spraying, and I was behind him, and he missed himself and got me right in the eyes.
Oh.
Like, oh my gosh, I was burning for a while.
Oh, asshole.
yeah. After like 5 minutes of being like, oh, I was like, why?
Oh yeah, why'd you do that to me? Why? Holy shit.
But I mean, hey, it works great.
Right. Yeah. Again, all legal. I get people again when I get people that are, talking about, as soon as I hear, well, I can't.
We get a lot of people from Australia with that mindset.
Yeah.
Who are like, I can't carry anything. And we're like, okay, but you can.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, you're just thinking tactically. I go, you're just not thinking practically, right? I'm like, go to the hardware store. Everything you need is there.
Yep.
And you can, and it's like, you're just not, because you immediately, it's like but this is a lot of people in general. You're immediately told no and you shut down. Instead of being like, okay, what am I looking to replace?
Yeah, what's my workaround?
Right. So I want an edged weapon. So, what can I use that has that has a full tank shaft and a point on the end of it? Right. Okay. Ton of stuff. I'm looking for, I can't use pepper spray, but what can I use to, that I can project at somebody in like 3 to 4 feet in front of me and get them to react? A lot of stuff.
Oh, you know what would be great? I just thought of it. Oh, that like super jet stream Hornet.
Oh, like Raid. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Holy crap.
Man, that'd be so good.
I've thought about I always use bug spray as my go-to with that shit. Yeah, but yeah, just Hornet spray. And again, you want something that you can carry too. So if you can get a small, if you're not carrying, they usually come in like some 16-ounce massive bottle.
It's true.
Yeah, so it's a little tough to conceal, but like you can get something like, something. And then, even if you like put it in like an aerosol can or something like that. Yeah, Mike's like scissors are a great alternative. I like scissors too, because you can hold on to them. They got the loop, like the finger. That's the one thing where, with my thing with edge weapons, where, unless you need like either something to get your fist around or something to put your fingers through. Like every weapon else that I've had, I don't see guys like use the fucking knives and they're going back and forth and it doesn't have a hilt on it. You need a hilt minimum. Because if you don't, your hand's going to slide right up and you're going to cut your fingers like OJ.
Wet and blood, real slippery.
That's the other part, right? So you're sticking it into somebody. You need to withdraw it multiple times in order to get the desired effect. The body will shut down and like suck in the, whatever you're sticking into it because it's flexible, it's wet, it's moist. So it'll basically inhale it. So, you got to pull it out again. And if you don't have like, again, like the guys in prison, they would like take the shiv and like tie, like wrap like wet bed sheets around their hand. So, they can like just continue to use that thing as they're punching and stabbing. So, things with finger holes. And I'm like, that's why the scissors are a good call, Mike. Cause you can put your fingers in there and hold it and pull it and withdraw it back and forth without having to, without it getting lost, because that's why, like with the tactical pen thing, I mean, I'll carry them, but it's a one and done. Like you're using the tactical pen, it's going in. If you get it in, it's probably not coming out. You're probably not getting it out. Again, slippery, it gets stuck in there, body, clamps down on it. You're like, that's why I'm looking at these guys and these guys are like doing all this shit with the pen into the thigh, into the neck, and like, it's this like magic fuck. I'm like, you ever stabbed anything with that? One,
they're playing tag with it. They're not stabbing.
Yeah.
No, exactly. If you try to drive that even through cardboard, your hand is going to slide off of it on the impact. So you're trying to get into something. It's gonna, it probably is not gonna penetrate a lot of the time. I mean, unless you're like really looking at like the neck, area. Which again, did you guys see Rogue Warriors yet?
No.
It's on Prime. Holy shit! The first episode.
I don't have Prime, so
Okay, all right.
Road Warriors.
Rogue Warriors. It's about the British SAS.
Okay.
And it's awesome because this is all like Fairburn stuff. And when he's going through like the hand-to-hand speech to these like Australian dudes, and like it's all based around Cairo, the desert rats, right? So, and he's talking about like, how, hand-in combat and how like the neck is God's like dirty trick. I'm like, yes. He's like, eyes and thumbs are meant for gouging. He's like, but the neck is like God's like dirty little trick, that can be, just abused. So yeah, he's like, plus these guys speed tab. Yeah. So you need to bury that blade every time. Yeah, for sure. I'm like, you're dealing with, again, you're dealing with anyone who's like, amped up on anything, as Mike brings it up. I'm like, you got to shock the central nervous system, and then you got to like make their blood pressure drop. So, then they just pass out. I mean, that's really what what you're talking about with an edge weapon. But yeah, so, getting, if these women's right, I mean, it was always, it's always, again, I come back to it. I'm like, why aren't like these words like violence against women and women's rights? And it's always, yeah, but what are you doing to help them protect themselves, honestly, at the point of attack? And I'm for all of it, obviously, but it's like, what happens? What are you doing before the attack? How are you doing? Everyone wants to empower women. Nothing empowers a woman better than a 9mm. I'm like, you want to empower a woman? Yeah. I mean, I've met some interesting people over the course of a couple of the last several years, and like there are a lot of women involved, and there's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the the systematic demasculinization of men, right? That's been going on in society for a while now. More and more women are stepping up to like protect themselves. Like gun purchases. I forget what it was, like an NRA article from like last year or whatever. But like women are dominating the gun training and the gun purchase.
Yeah,
70%.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sick and tired. They want to be protected,
and they should be, and they're realizing that this is the way. The problem is, it's like, look, I'll give a shit what your politics are. I tell my liberal friends, I go, dude, I think you're a good guy. I think you should be armed. I'm like, I think you would make I think it, came down to it. I go, you'd make the right decisions. So good people should be prepared and protected, period. It's like, I was like, some knucklehead was posting on one of our, ads before. He's like, of course it's usually, he didn't say, what if you get shot in the head? He goes, his comment was, a headshot won't protect you. I understand what he was trying to say. So then it comes in, all of a sudden he's like, starts talking about Trump and all this shit. I'm like, I was like, dude, what does any of this, what does any of this have to do with anything? I'm like, again, like attaching politics to something like firearms is, it's a little ridiculous. I just think, especially when it comes to personal protection, right? You want to take everything away from, as you said it before, Josh said it before, the law-abiding citizens are the ones that obey the laws.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that, suffer. The piece of shit, like Mike was saying, they look, bad guys will go get a gun. They're going to use a weapon. They're going to
find something else. Yeah.
Yep.
We've multiple times we've talked about the, butcher knife gangs and machete gangs and, Korea and stuff like that. Like, they're going to find whatever they can that gives them an edge over anybody else. Which goes back to like, if the bad guys are finding an equalizer / something to give them a better edge, why aren't you?
Right. Right. And it's again, like you're thinking that, because you think like this, it makes you a criminal, or you, but again, adopting, you're taking a pragmatic approach and being willing to, do what's necessary. There's a line between, okay, it's illegal, or do I want to survive? Right. That's it. I mean, oh my God. So I went to the Sphere out, and we were out in Vegas. It was funny. I wish I had video of this. The guy like pulled my pepper spray and my pen from my backpack, but my backpack had rifle plates in it. He had no fucking clue. Like, he went through the whole goddamn thing, and he's like looking, couldn't find anything. Mike writes, Somalis in the UK use a bicycle spoke. Yeah, exactly. There you go. What do we make bicycle spokes illegal? So
it's funny, we're talking about women's rights and everything, and like my kids are all getting older, and like I love when they start putting that stuff together. When they see like, well, this has been banned, and my kids are like, wait a minute. If we're going to ban that, why don't we just ban pencils? Why don't we ban, water bottles? Because you can use all of those as a weapon. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, you don't have an answer for when somebody takes a car and drives it through a crowd.
Yeah.
No shit. Why don't we banning cars now? If somebody takes a knife, you were to ban knives.
Yeah.
It's like, it just, because of the gun's purpose, it's only made for one thing.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets the stigma that it does. Right. All these things. Oh, well, its purpose is to inflict pain on another human being. Yeah, it is. Pepper spray is made for that. It's not a breath freshener. So, I'm like, and that's where, that's where, it's the intent of whatever it is. But the fact is, you're not looking at the effect, right? I can find, other than a firearm, I could find pretty much anything else that's legal to replace any weapon that is illegal. Yep. So that's it. So, yeah. So, okay. So we solved that problem.
We're solving all these problems and nobody's watching.
Nobody.
That's right.
Nobody. I had like 4 or 5 people. I think we were up to 10 at some point. So
four consistent people is better than the one we had 4 months ago.
And at least our 4 consistent people will never hire a fucking hitman off Craigslist. So
right. Or they're taking their ads down now.
That's right. That's right. Fucking
yeah, man. I just yeah. So what do you guys got going on this weekend?
I'm going to Six Flags.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big
All
fucking
right.
family trip.
Just me and my oldest. We're gonna go.
Yeah.
You guys are the only guys that do rides?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do rides. I went to Six Flags out in Magic Mountain this spring with my daughter's boyfriend, because he likes to go on rides. She does not. My wife does not. My son may or may not. He will probably go on just to not be called a pussy. So that's where I think he falls in that. But if he had his choice, he'd probably be like, yeah, no. Yeah. What rides you got picked out?
So when we were doing our trip down in Universal, she found out that she likes roller coasters, one of her first roller coasters. So we're just going to go and hit everything that she wants to do.
That's cool.
So,
yeah. We were lucky enough to get there early in October. Was it October? It was August. There was nobody there. And
that's what I'm hoping for. Like, they're only open on the weekends right now. Like, it's going to be slow.
Yeah. So we got there early. I think we hit like 12 roller coasters, which was a lot. But then the line started getting, yeah. Yeah, that's what Mike. I know Mike's sons are like 7 feet tall. He's like, they're too big. Yeah, dude. I'm fucking 5'8" on a good day. I don't feel bad for you at all. So, you're not getting my sympathy, brother. So, yeah, but what happens is it's weird. It's like you pull G's, and you realize like at the end, I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting a little like worn out and sore.
Yeah,
because
you're young, you don't notice it.
No. I mean, we're going. I'm like, holy shit, dude. We were on this run ride, this like T3 Extreme, and it was the highest one in the park, but it was weird because it was like one of those like it kind of like flipped you around in a cage, and then you felt like you were like a bee in a jar. But what they failed to do is like the highest point, you're sitting up there, but I'm staring at the sky, so I've got no point of reference to see how high I am. And I just look it up. I'm like, it's blue. It's a nice day, And then it took you through. It lasted like 30 seconds, and then it was like, "Fuck you, I'm done with you." That kind of shit. So, yeah. But then it was like, the ones I don't like to do are the ones just to go straight up and straight down.
I don't mind the straight up and straight down. I don't like the bouncing where it goes down and then bounces and bounces and bounces. Like, no thanks.
Right. Yeah, no. I get
So you're not fucking bungee jumping then?
No, probably not.
No.
Not anymore. There was a time in my life I would have, but not now.
Now you realize that guy is high as fuck that is guessing my weight.
Yeah. I'll do anything. I'll do almost anything as long as it's done safely.
Right. He's like, how much is that? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Like, dude, the other guy's shorter.
Yeah. When was the last time you inspected this?
Right. It's too many, too many variables. It's like, come on. The guy who invented the wingsuit died in the wingsuit.
Yeah.
So all this extreme shit, it's really I had a buddy that would do offshore motorboat racing, like those big cigarette boats. I'm like, dude, I go, those things fly. And I go, is that dangerous? He goes, oh yeah, absolutely. He's like, I broke my back. He's like, they went up, hit a wave, it nosedived, and it goes, and it popped him back out on the way back out and broke his back. I'm like, okay, that's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just guys like,
I got a buddy that I was talking to in Florida, and he does this like deep water, like diving fishing. And so they go down like 200 feet.
What?
Spear these fish and then ride them till they die. They're like these giant monster fish. And he said they stand on like the bottoms of like oil platforms. And he's like, if these fish decide to just dive down instead of up, he's like, we're gonna be dead in like 2 seconds.
Right, because you're probably
like, that's crazy. I don't know why you're doing that.
What of all the things, how did you put all of that together?
Right?
It's
like special competitions that they do for it. And he said that they always win because they're like the craziest ones, and they go to the deepest, craziest spots.
I'm like, because I would forget to let go. If that thing goes down, I forget to let go.
Right. Yeah. He was like, yeah, if you don't bone it in the head and it dies, he's like, you basically ride it till it wears out, right? He was like, but if it decides to go down, he's like, you gotta basically you have like 2 seconds to let go, or you're dead.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like I want to go fishing, yet I want to do fucking extreme, and there's no air. They're just snorkeling, right?
No. They're like 200 feet down. They're scuba.
Okay, I'm an idiot, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching those free divers do
but I mean,
that
at those pressures, with all the mixtures and everything, like you can only go another like 10, 15, 20 feet, 50 feet.
Right.
Those fish are fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before you just like, implode.
Yeah. Because then it's like, then you can't just resurface because you get the bends. Right. So you gotta like. Yeah, no.
So,
this is
like, I would do like scuba fishing, but not that deep. Take me like 30 feet.
Yeah. Oh my God. I do like, but then it's like even like with spearfishing, then also those guys get clipped by sharks and shit because you're basically holding
he was
bait.
Saying he fights sharks off all the time because the fish will like start bleeding or start chumming all over him, and then the sharks just start coming. And he's like, you start stabbing him in the face and everything, and I'm like, no.
No, I'll stick to my Six Flags. I'll go do that.
So
I'll go do that. I'll need to do that. I don't need. What's missing from your life that you need to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I go, well, is he married?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then there's that. Okay.
I mean, he's a combat veteran, so he's probably just like,
Oh, there's that.
He's
right.
probably just needing something to like.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Holy shit. So, all right, fellas. Well, good. Well, good for next week, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us, the tens of people that did.
Yeah,
awesome.
Hey, we're growing slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely growing. Nice. There's all links to join us underneath. Even got you down there, Josh, to train with you. Check us out. Always, if you want to you want to subscribe, cool. If not, that's cool too. Okay, everybody. Until next time, train honestly. Peace.